Northeast Asia occupies much of the Asian mainland south of Russia. It is composed of China, Mongolia, and North and South Korea on the Asian continent, plus the island countries of Japan and Taiwan. There are two major distinctions of the geography of Northeast Asia. One is that it is isolated from other regions, especially to the west, that makes them quite difficult to influence by foreign countries. Second, it is distinct by natural barriers, which are mountains, deserts, and the ocean. The Himalayas are one of these barriers that made interactions with Europe almost impossible. It was difficult for them to build roads and has rough paths for the traders to traverse and become the ultimate reason why trade was taking a long time. The Gobi Desert is also a good example of a natural barrier. Traders and travelers that cross these deserts find it difficult to pass because of the conditions of travel and the lack of resources like water and food. Seas and oceans are also factors that isolated Japan and other Southeast Asian neighbors from the mainland Northeast Asia. In addition, we can also say that the Great Wall of China is an artificial barrier. The wall was made from different dynasties, which we will be discussing later in the report. These factors affected Northeast Asia by decreasing the chances of wars with neighboring regions. Though, we can observe that there are civil wars but fewer wars materialized up to the Opium Wars. Because of these factors, there were also less trade to the region. As we have learned from the previous reports, rivers are very important in the flourishing of a civilization. In the case of East Asia, these rivers are densely populated urban centers as transport routes. Basins provide areas for farming. China's major rivers begin in the plateau of Tibet and flow eastward to the Pacific Ocean. The Yellow River is northern China's major river system. This river is called yellow because it carries tons of fine, yellowish-brown topsoil called loess. Central China's Yangtze River is Asia's longest river. It is a major transport route that provides water from a large agricultural area. These areas were predominantly settled in the past by nomadic peoples. Over the course of Chinese history, nomadic peoples from China's border regions have often intruded upon the settled agricultural civilization of core China, and in recent centuries, Chinese farmers have settled in the interior regions. In contrast to China's long rivers, the rivers of Japan and Korea are short, swift, and flow through mountainous terrain. Productive farmlands and forests are unevenly distributed in this region. 10% of China's land, which is the southern part, Rice Bowl, is suitable for agriculture. With nearly 25% of its land suitable for farming, South Korea produces 2 crops per year, barley and rice, in the coastal south. In contrast, Mongolia can only use less than 1% of its land for crops, making Mongolia more suitable in herding than of farming. East Asia's island countries and coastal areas depend on the sea for food. There are also fertile plains along the coastline of the Korean Peninsula and Japan, and most of these people live in these areas. Japan is the most isolated part of Northeast Asia. Some actually think Japan is only one island, but the fact is that it is composed of many groups of islands, making it an archipelago. It is the land of the rising sun because they believe that they were the first to see the sun rise. The sun rises at the east, and they actually knew no countries east of them. They only knew of the Korean Peninsula and the China mainland or southern Russia. Japan is an archipelago, which means that it is composed of chains of islands which was believed to be created by the Pacific Ring of Fire. 4/5 of Japan is mountainous. This means that there is little space to live in, so where it is flatter, there is a high populated density. So there are very crowded areas in Japan that it has a high population based on the land size. Latitude and physical features shape Northeast Asia's climate. Each climate region has distinct characteristics and unique vegetation. Dry highlands and grasslands dominate the north and west, with humid and temperate forests to the south and east. The climate of East Asia is both similar to and different from that of Europe and the United States. It is different in that most of the rainfall occurs during the warm summer months, rather than during the winter months. This abundant water supply during the warm growing season allows for intensive agriculture, with 2 and sometimes 3 crop cycles per year. China, with 1.3 billion peoples, is the most populated country in the world. Regarding cultural geography, Northeast Asia is a homogeneous society, which means that each part of it have little diversity of people. For example, the majority of people are from one ethnicity, the Han ethnicity, which is 95%. Climate, agriculture, and population size are closely related in East Asia, where large population densities have existed throughout history.